Hey everybody, it's Benny1 and I'm back at you with another Batman movie review, and today we're moving on to the third and final part of the Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, and that is The Dark Knight Rises, everybody. Woo! I will never forget when I went to the movie theater and watched this movie in 2012 because, well, for a few reasons. This actually came out on the weekend that I got married in 2012, and we did go to an IMAX theater and watch it on our honeymoon. So I will never forget this movie, trust me. And of course, we had the shooting at the movie theater in Colorado where the guy had his hair painted all orange and crazy colors, and he went and he shot some people in a movie theater. So it was kind of weird going into a movie theater shortly after that something like that happened, even though I was on the West Coast. I wasn't anywhere near Colorado. It was just kind of weird. And they had, like, security was beefed up in the movie theater that we were in Seattle and stuff. So it was just I'll never forget watching this movie in the movie theater for a few reasons, some good, some bad, but overall, I was very satisfied with the movie. So, this movie picks up 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, where Batman took the fall for what Harvey Dent did at the end of The Dark Knight. And he became the villain, and he became what he had to be because, like Gordon said at the end of the Dark Knight, he is our silent protector, and he is our Dark Knight. He's not the hero that Gotham needs or deserves or whatever. Or he's not the hero that Gotham deserves, but it's the one that he needs at the time. So yeah, guys, this movie picks up 8 years later. So we have an older Bruce Wayne. Wayne Manor is completely rebuilt in this movie. And Harvey Dent Day is like a holiday that they celebrate every day. And Gordon has to basically lie every year and give a speech about a guy that turned into a monster and almost killed his family. And they really show that in the beginning of this movie. And Gordon has a speech telling the truth, all written down and everything, and he tucks it back in his coat and everything, and he's like, today's just not the day. And yeah, we get to catch up with Bruce. He's old, he's battered, he's hurt, he's got a cane, and he's been hiding out in his house for years. People think he's got long nails and teeth, and he's a hermit, and yeah, and we get introduced to Selina, our new Catwoman, played by Anne Hathaway, everybody. Really early on in the movie, honestly, because she steals Bruce's mom's pearls out of his safe. Like, she's working as a server at this Harvey Dent Day at the Wayne Manor, because it's held there every year. And she steals the pearls and kicks Bruce's cane out from under him, and their first interaction was great together. Christian Bale, once again, does a fantastic job playing Bruce Wayne and Batman. Probably not my favorite performance of him as Batman. I would say it's probably my least favorite of the three movies. Because he is older. He gets a little crazy with the Batman voice in this movie. Where's the trigger? Like, by the end, he gets a little crazy with the voice in this movie. I will admit it. He does. He gets a little too much. But yeah, he does a good job. Michael Caine's back. He does he's not in this one as much as the other two because there's something that happens between him and Bruce, because Alfred's telling him, he's like, you're old, man. You're not the same person you were 8 years ago. And this new foe that you're going up against, Bane, who we will talk about, trust me, he's gonna kill you. Like, he's going to kill you. He's gonna beat the shit out of you. And Alfred's worried about him. And he tells him the truth about the note that Rachel wrote him that Alfred burned in The Dark Knight. And Alfred exits the movie until the very end. He's not in the movie anymore at this point. So he's not really in this movie a whole lot. Let's see, freaking Gordon, awesome. He does a phenomenal job in this movie. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in this movie as a police officer, and he gets promoted to a detective. And he's awesome in this movie. I love it. He gets to work alongside Gordon, and you get to see him kind of rise in the ranks of the police department really fast because he's considered a hothead, but Gordon's like, we need some new hotheads in this department. So And we find out at the end of the movie that his real name is actually Robin. So it's kind of like a little tease and throwback to, you know, Robin being introduced in the Nolan movies. And the way the movie ends, it's kind of cool. I like it. It's a nice little send-off, and it makes you wonder, like, where his character would have gone and what he's going to do. Is he going to do what he finds and gets introduced to? So, because he does find out that Bruce is Batman, he basically puts two and two together. He's not stupid. So, Morgan Freeman is back as Lucius Fox once again. He does a good job. And Tom Hardy, people. Tom Hardy is phenomenal as Bane. The Bane that they freaking introduced in this movie is very realistic compared to the one that we got in Batman and Robin. He makes, like, this Bane, he does not have the venom and all that makes him, like, huge and, oh, you know, like the comic book or the cartoon show. What it is he wears that mask because it's keeping him alive, because in this prison, this pit that he was in, that we get introduced in this movie, something happens to him where the doctor down in there, they have to put this mask on him basically to keep the pain at bay and keep him alive. So I love that shit. And Tom Hardy got beefed up for this role. He got massive, and holy shit, people, he is just vicious in this movie. Vicious as all hell. Anytime he's on screen, he has such a presence and just awesomeness to him. And his voice, I loved what they did with his voice, because Tom Hardy, you got his accent and his voice, and then they muffled it obviously underneath that mask, because they had him talk under that mask, and then they obviously took it and they did some editing to it. I think he sounds like a good mixture of Sean Connery and Darth Vader. I don't know why, but every time I watch this movie, I'm like, God, Bane sounds like Sean Connery and Vader had a baby together, and that's Bane's voice. So, yeah, he's the presence that he has in this movie is so powerful and crazy. And the fight scene in the middle of the movie that him and Batman have is brutal as hell. And I love what Christopher Nolan did with it, where there was no music in the background at all. It was just them fighting, and you could just feel it, man. When Bane was hitting him, and you could just feel the brutality of it and shit. Oh my god, it was just brutal. And of course, we get the iconic Bane shot from the comic books where he breaks Batman's back. We get that in this movie. It is crazy, man. Crazy shit. This movie actually takes place, probably, there's a good 6 months that go on in this movie, because once Bane breaks Batman's back, he goes away for like almost 5 months, into that pit, that prison that the child climbed out of, which we find out is not really Bane, even though through the whole movie they try and make you think it's Bane, but it's somebody else. So that's part of the movie where this story, the thing is with this movie is Nolan went really grand and epic with this movie, very ambitious, and I love it for a final third act in this trilogy. But there are some things about the story and the plot, and it wasn't executed the best, especially with the way that the second one and the first one were, but still, because the whole part of him going down into that prison and his back's broken and he just heals up from it so fast and then gets back to Gotham to save Gotham after Bane has literally turned Gotham into a completely anarchy-ran society. It's crazy, because basically what the Joker wanted to do in The Dark Knight, Bane literally accomplishes it, and it is going on for months in Gotham. Like, Bane completely accomplishes what the villains in the other two movies wanted to do. It actually happens in this movie. Gotham completely is taken over by Bane and his military, and they let all the people that Harvey and the laws put it behind bars out, and it is totally anarchy. Do what you want, whatever the hell you want. Scarecrow's the judge. That's right. Scarecrow comes back in this movie, and he's the judge. They either kill people or they exile them out onto the ice where they fall in and die. So basically, they just kill people. They pretty much, and they have whatever you want to call trials. it's crazy, man. And we get a new vehicle in the movie too, the Bat. He gets kind of a bat plane. It's more like a helicopter mixed with a plane a little bit. It's pretty interesting. It's weird looking. And they used a practical one quite a bit to shoot the scenes. But overall, guys, I mean, I could probably sit here and talk about this movie for a while because there's a lot to talk about in it. Because Anne Hathaway's Catwoman is great. I like the look of her. I think she does a pretty damn good job playing Catwoman. And you got to remember, these movies are very grounded. They're very realistic. So she's not wearing cat ears. Her goggles that she wears folds up. And from the side and the front, if you're in the right angle, they look like cat ears. But she's a burglar. Like, they really did a good job focusing on the whole Catwoman being a burglar. So, but the movies are very grounded, so we get real interpretations of these characters. Oh, Jesus, I almost forgot to talk about Talia al Ghul. She gets introduced very late in this movie, and it's Moira. I can't remember what the freaking chick's name is. Jesus Christ, that her actual fake character that's in one of the main people in charge of Wayne Enterprises. So, but she actually is Talia al Ghul, and we get introduced to her very late in the movie. I don't know. You could kind of see it about halfway in the movie that that's kind of what they were doing. I don't know. I wasn't really hot on that. I wasn't really into that very much. So, but I don't know. Overall, I think it was a very satisfying end to this trilogy. I don't think this one is as good as the other two, but I will say the way they wrapped everything up, this trilogy, in my opinion, still today is the best trilogy for a comic book character. You're a solo comic book character. It is the best trilogy that we have gotten in comic book movies that they've put out. That's how I feel. Yeah. So I'm going to give this one, I think I'm going to give The Dark Knight Rises, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's really good. It's epic. It's grand. It's entertaining. It's very satisfying end to the trilogy, like I said. It's just not quite as good as the other two. So 8 out of 10 for The Dark Knight Rises, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed that review. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll be catching you on YouTube later because I have spoken.